explain how to solve one-step equations. In other words, how to solve equations with only one step. So here we have exercise A, which is b minus 5 equals to 9. And now you might look at it and think, okay, b has to be 14, because 14 minus 5, it's what's gonna give you 9, right? We want the equation to hold. Remember, finding a solution for an equation or solving it means to find that value for the variable that makes it true, right? So that it shows that the equation is balanced and you have the same amount on both sides of the equal sign. That's pretty much what we're trying to find. And again, just by looking at it, we can say that b has to be 14, because 14 minus 5 is what's going to make the equation true. However, I want to show you a different approach on how to solve one-step equations without using the mental math, right? Remember that we can find equations that look more complex later on, and I want to introduce you to this new way of finding the value of the variables. So basically, to solve an equation, means to isolate the variable in one side of the equation. So basically what we want is to have the variable in one side and by itself. So no other number, just the variable, and then the solution on the other side. So in this case, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to go ahead and draw a line separating both sides, so that way you can visually see that the equation is composed of two sides, the left and the right, from the equal sign. So here we can see that our variable, it's on the left side, right? We can see that our variable, it's not alone, because we have that -5, right? And in order for us to be able to isolate the variable, we need to get rid of that 5. And how do we get rid of it? By doing the opposite from what it's doing to the variable. Now that 5 is subtracting, it's being subtracted from the variable. So now what we're going to do is do the opposite of that. So the opposite of subtraction, we know it's addition, so we're going to go ahead and add 5. And now by the addition property of equality, we know that if we add in one side, we need to add on the other side. And again, this is like the balance that I was talking about on the previous slide. So you want both sides to be balanced. So if you add something in one side, you need to add it on the other side. So in this case, once that we had added 5, we can see that -5 and +5 becomes 0 if you combine them. So these two cancel out each other. We end up only with the variable on the left side, and then 9 plus 5, it's 14. So then b equals 14. Now let's go ahead and try the next problem. This is -2 equals y plus 6. And again, I'm going to start by separating both sides of the equation with a line that goes through the equal sign, and then identifying where my variable is. So here my variable is y, and it's on the right side. Do we care if it's on the left or the right? No, we don't care. All we want to do is for that variable to end up by itself on one side of the equation. So here we can see that the variable, it's not alone, because we have that +6 with it. So that 6 is adding. Again, what we want to do is do the opposite of what the number is doing to the letter. In this case, it's adding, so we're going to go ahead and subtract. So we do -6, and then by the subtraction property of equality, we know that if we subtract in one side, we subtract on the other one. And so what this is going to do is the 6, it's going to cancel with the -6. So we end up with y alone, and then -2 minus 6, which is -8. So y equals -8. And we have solved the equation only by one step, which was subtracting 6 in both sides. Now for the next one, we have negative 8y equals 42.4. Again, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line to visually separate both sides of the equation. Now we have w on the left side, right? And then we can notice that negative 8, it's multiplying w, because we don't have a plus or a minus in between 8 and w. We can conclude that it's multiplying. That negative belongs to the 8, so we don't state only 8w, we have negative 8w. And so that negative 8, it's multiplying, so we got to do the opposite in order to get rid of it. The opposite of multiplication, it's division. So we go ahead and divide by negative 8, and again, both sides, in order for the equal sign to hold. Negative 8 divided by negative 8, it's going to give us positive 1. So this becomes 1w, or just w, equals 42.4 divided by negative 8, which is negative 5.3. So w equals negative 5.3. Now let's go ahead and try another example. We have h over 7 equals 8. Again, let's go ahead and do a line that goes through the equal sign. And we want to get rid of that 7. We have h on the left side of the equal sign, and we want to get rid of that 7. Now, because that 7, it's the denominator in this fraction, that means that 7 is actually dividing, right? So we want to do the opposite, which is multiply. So we are going to multiply times 7, and we multiply times 7 on the other side as well. So now what this is going to do is the 7 and the 7 are going to cancel out, because 7 divided by 7 will become 1. So we have 1h equals 56. So the value of the variable is 56. So the solution of the equation is 56. And let's go over a last example. This is negative 5 over 9c equals 20. So this one looks a little bit more complex, because we have a fraction that it's multiplying the variable, right? And fractions, sometimes they look scarier than just like regular numbers. But what we want to do is think about what is the 5 and what is the 9 doing to the c. So 5, we can technically say that it's multiplying c, and 9, it's dividing. So again, what we want to do is do the opposite of what they're doing to the variable. So in this case, because in 5 it's multiplying, what we're going to do is we're going to divide by 5. So on both sides, we're going to be dividing by 5, so we put it in the denominator. And then 9 is dividing, so the opposite will be multiplication. So we're going to be multiplying times 9. So 9 will be in the numerator. Now, because 5 over 9 is negative, we're also going to take a negative with us. So that is negative 9 over 5, which is the actual reciprocal of 5 over 9. So it's like having a tortilla and kind of like flipping it, right? It's burning, so you got to take the reciprocal and flip it. So we flip the fraction to 9 over 5. So the 9 will be canceling the 9, and then the 5 will be canceling the 5. And then we know that the negative times the negative, it's going to give you a positive. So we're going to have c equals, now on this side, we can put 20 over 1 and then multiply across. So 20 times negative 9, it's negative 180. And then 1 times 5, it's 5. We can divide 180 by 5, which is going to give us negative 36. So the solution of the equation, it's C equals negative 36.